Hey RecLess fans, this is Tom here, and I'm proud to announce that this episode and all of Season 5 is brought to you by our friends at Civic Plus. For all of our Parks and Rec pros, do you ever feel like you're constantly putting out fires? Registrations, facility bookings, team calendars, it's non-stop juggling. And all that admin work? It's keeping you from what really matters, serving your community. That's where Civic Plus comes in. Their comprehensive Parks and Recreation Management solution streamlines everything, from online registration to facility scheduling and payments, all in one place. Parks and Recreation Management by Civic Plus automates the busy work that bogs you down so you can spend less time on paperwork and more time creating unforgettable programs for your residents. Civic Plus is the trusted partner of thousands of high-performing civic leaders, helping them balance better services with limited resources. With over 25 years of experience and a team of 900 experts, Civic Plus powers over 10,000 organizations and touches 340 million lives every day. If you're ready to trade burnout for impact, then visit civicplus.com. The best run local governments run on Civic Plus technology. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Season 5 of RecLess, the podcast making you smarter and more knowledgeable about the field of parks and recreation. Your hosts are Shane Mize, Jay Tryon, and Tom Venniro, three career-long friends from across the country bringing you a surprise guest each episode. Listen in on a great conversation, maybe take some notes, and definitely enjoy a couple of laughs. This is RecLess.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Hey, just a typical summer day. Well, work-wise, not weather. It's cold here.
Yeah, I was listening to WGR the other morning, and it's like my morning routine. And then they were like, "Yep, it's 3/4 zip weather." And I looked at my phone; it was like 57 degrees back in Buffalo.
Yeah,
and it's still like I wake up and I'm up at in our gym at 6 a.m. and it's still 75 degrees right now. So it was a shocker when I heard that.
Shane's got a polo on today.
That's weird. He dressed up for the occasion.
What's up?
Nice polo.
Yeah, I got Parks Commission tonight.
Oh,
City
man.
makes me dress up 3 times a month. 2 council meetings, 1 Parks Commission meeting.
Wow. Yeah, but the other day when I called you and you were in a meeting, it was at a bar. How did that work?
That is the Parks Foundation, and I normally don't go to those. Jeff does, and apparently he just does whatever he wants, drinks, whatever.
Okay.
I was just covering for him.
You guys good?
Yes, sir.
Good to go.
Welcome to
mystery
RecLess, guys.
guest.
I'm just trying to do my introduction here, buddy.
My bad.
So, welcome to RecLess, a podcast where we're focusing on the industry of park and recreation through 3 close friends, different parts of the country. I am your host today. My name is Jay Tryon, and as always, Shane wanted to cut me off, and I also have Tom Venniro with us. What's going on, guys?
Glad to be here.
Me too.
And Shane is observant and we have a mystery guest. I am going to just start diving into our intro question, and it's going to be a little continuation of our conversation we had during our wrap-up. So in our wrap-up of season 4, I discussed how I really enjoyed having a variety of other guests that aren't tied directly as a park and recreation professional, but how there's a lot of intertwinings within different industries. And today is just that. And we're going to talk about sports, I'm sure, a lot during this conversation. So my opening question to you today is about coaching. We've all been involved in a variety of different avenues of sports. In some cases, maybe it was coaching, it might be playing, it might be, having your child be on the field. And I'm curious to ask you guys, with all of our involvement from sports, do you have a favorite coach as well as a takeaway that you have learned from that coach that has become almost like a life lesson that you have instilled throughout your career? And I'll let you think, and I'm going to go first. I'm going to tell a quick little story about this, and it had to do with a basketball coach. When I was in high school, as my JV coach, our philosophy, or the coach's philosophy, was always about being the best team physically. So we were always the best in shape. We ran a ton of sprints in practice. We did a drill called 17s, where we had to run the width of the court 17 times and aim for under a minute. And if we did that as a team, if every single player did that, then our coach would then do it. And we always wanted to do that because we want to see our coach run. Who doesn't love like making your coach work during a practice? We also had a defense. It was a full court press that we called gum. And it was pretty much like you want to stick to those players like gum. You're on them. The whole point of it was to press them and cause turnovers. But we always ran that defense because we were always in great shape. We ran a ton, and you could tell the teams that did not run like we did and that weren't in shape physically. And it was fun to kind of see that in the middle of a game, third quarter, fourth quarter, and we still, we're not gassed because we're used to that. And I've kind of taken that approach to certain things of just like that over preparing for certain things, making sure they're most prepared, whether it's for a presentation, whether it's for, you're preparing for an interview. And, the more time you can spend on what others aren't spending time on, you're going to thrive in that area. And a lot of times, not everyone spends as much time running and getting in physical shape than the teams that we played against. So it's something I've always taken away. And I've always remembered that term gum for our defense. And I loved it. It was my favorite defense to run because you can just see, like, when we would implement it, the other teams would sometimes just scatter because they wouldn't know how to handle it because it came out of nowhere and we were always in shape to do it. What you guys got?
I'll take a stab at it. It was a while ago. I don't know how you guys all do with your childhood memories, but it feels like at times there's some of it is very vivid, and some you're like, oh, you talk about the stories with your family, and yeah, I don't remember that. But this was one instance from my childhood. I and Jay, you and I can relate to this. I grew up playing baseball, so that was the main sport that my family had partaked in, and that was every aspect, right? Playing baseball, going to games. That was kind of the sport that we really kind of bonded around and have a lot of great childhood memories. And I believe I was 8 or 9, and it was minors baseball. So minors baseball is the first year back then, and gee, that was 32 years ago. So whatever year that was, right? Early 90s, that you do player pitch. That was the first year that the kids pitch. And I was in what they called Bush League in my yeah, I know, funny name. I don't know that they go with that anymore, but it was Bush League back in the day. So, which is kind of cool because, like, I think about the term, that's Bush League, it's anyway, we don't really see that a lot these days, but in those levels, it was T-ball or maybe underhand pitch from the coach. And this was back in the day before you could pay to play, right? So it was those, if you all remember this, I'm sure that you can relate to this. You played house ball, and then at a certain point, there was an all-star team that was selected. And then at a certain point after that, there was a travel team. They were all selected from that pool of the house league that you had there. There were not these pay-to-play developmental leagues. There wasn't the whole, we're playing baseball in the summer, fall ball, winter training. That didn't really exist back then, or at least I wasn't exposed to it. So anyway, to put this story, kind of tie a bow around it, that year I was accustomed to my brother and seeing him being 3 years older go through the whole process and making all-star teams, and I just expected it. I expected that my skill level and that what I had seen my brother do, that I was going to follow in those footsteps. And that first year in minors, I remember when there was the announcement made, 2, 3, 4 kids per team were picked for the all-star team, whatever it was, or it was, 2 all-star teams. So all of the league comprised of 2 all-star teams. And I wasn't selected. I remember, it was so vivid. I remember crying in the car with my mother. She was driving, and it was devastating for a 9-year-old or however old I was at that time. And so the next practice or game that we had, I had talked to the coach. My mom had said, hey, maybe you should just ask your coach, a little bit about the process. And I'll never forget the kind of the message was, and this gentleman's name was Phil Hoffman, by the way. I remember his name. He had a Southern draw, and he played a little bit of Major League Baseball. So we all looked up to him. He was a great coach, great guy. And he basically had instilled in me at a very early age that you don't get everything that you want. You are not entitled to anything. And what you need to do now is work harder. And that very next year, I somehow managed to get on his team again, and I made the All-Star team. And from that point on, it was just such a great learning experience for me to to have that where I had seen my brother, I had seen these other individuals and just felt like I was entitled to be on this all-star team. And he had taught me that that's just not how it works. I don't know that that message is out there anymore. I know a lot of individuals you can, I believe it's Babe Ruth in our area, and maybe that's a nationwide thing, but you can pretty much have 5 Babe Ruth teams from one community now, and you have an A, B, C, D, E team, right? And if there's enough interest, everybody could play travel, and everybody could feel like they're on an all-star team or a travel team. That's just not how it was then, and I believe that set me up for a lot of successes and also set me up to handle failure a lot better as an adult.
Tom's out here railing against the participation trophies. Look at these. Look at this B team, all-star team. Look at what is this?
Well, that wasn't what I was trying to get to, but great lesson.
So, it's interesting when you said this. Yeah, I think of coaches that I've been under, and then coaches, since I wanted to be a coach at one time, coaches that I observed. And I was a coach junkie for a long time when I thought I would be a coach and was trying to figure out what my style would be and how I would do things. So we had a coach named Coach Horner. He actually went to school with my dad. I actually found out he went to college with my dad, and they were both athletes at Howard Payne, because I had a shirt that said Howard Payne on it. And the guy says, "Oh, it's early on in my high school career." He's like, I think I might have been a junior high actually, but he was like, "Howard Payne." He's like, "That's a pretty small school to be wearing a shirt from." I was like, "Yeah, my dad went there." He was like, "What's your dad's name?" I was like, "Kim Mize." He was like, "You're Kim Mize's son?" I was like, "Yeah." He had told me he'd been to school from 70 to 74. And I was like, "Well, my dad wasn't there. My dad graduated in 78. And that's when I went back and talked to my dad. And my dad admitted, yeah, some people take 7 or 8 years to get out of their undergrad. My dad had been at school quite a long time and never told me about it.
So he was a Van Wilder?
Yeah, pretty much. And so, but he never admitted that. I had to pull that out of him. If I'd never met Coach Horner, I'd have never known. But Coach Horner then took a liking to me. And he had what he called Horner's Corner, which was in film review. Someone had to sit right next to him in the hot seat. And I was a young player on varsity at one time, and in an O-line group that had a lot of older guys, and I was always in Horner's Corner. And for the longest time, I had a tough time with it because I felt like if I'm there, I'm the one that screwed up the most, And over my years, I progressed. I just stayed there all the way through my senior year. Like Corner's spot was me, and I'd gotten hurt midway through my senior year, and even that first game after, he was like, "Come sit by me," and sat by him all year in Horner's Corner. And I remember him telling me at one time, like, "You're not here because you fucked up necessarily. You're here because I like to see what you see through the field. I like to ask you questions." And it just kind of developed it's a confirmation years later that when I found out I was a WI through Working Genius, I was like, "Oh yeah, I was wondering even then." He's the one, I think I've said it on this podcast, he's the one that famously told me, "Okay, Mize, you get 2 questions a day," because I would ask a question off every play. Well, what if happens here? What if we, and he was like, "All right, that's it. You now get 2 questions a day. I can't be answering questions all day from you." And so, that was me being a wonder even at 16, 17, 18 years old throughout my time on varsity, and just, berating the shit out of him with questions. So he's like, "All right, you only get 2 questions a day." So, and then just real quick, Lincoln Riley always had a quote that he said, "If your system is not quarterback friendly, you need to find yourself a new system." And I remember hearing that and thinking the same thing about leadership. I thought, if your leadership isn't strength friendly, then you need to find a different leadership philosophy, because you really need to be developing the strengths of your staff. You need to be highlighting and building on the strengths of your staff. And so, that would be a quote that I pulled from coaches in general.
I like it. And I think some of that we will dive into with our guest. So I know I say this probably every single time, but I am super excited about this conversation today. And as I mentioned, as I was leading off of season 4, this person doesn't directly work within the park and recreation field. So even though I'm going to give you a bunch of hints here, you probably won't guess it, but I still think it's fun to kind of like
Thurman Thomas.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Marv Levy.
We're just going to go Bill's greats.
Okay, so I've gotten to know this person over the last couple of years because they were actually one of Noah's football coaches.
Okay.
And not only did I enjoy seeing him coach and getting to know him, I admired the approach that he takes with coaching kids, as well as just the motivation that he can provide a group of people. What's really important to talk about here is there's there's been some correlation to a recent guest we've had. So this person was a two-sport athlete in college. To make it even more impressive, it was a D1 school that we talked about at length a few weeks ago on a recent episode. And this D1 school is the home of a future NRPA conference city.
Oh,
that should give
Ohio
away.
State?
Columbus.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
So
Is this? Did you send us a video of this individual coaching, Noah, or you sent us something really great with one of the coaches?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Our guest also has a passion for writing poetry and making music. Our guest spent 4 years playing with the Carolina Panthers. So we're going to add our list of guests that have played professional sports. We had a baseball player, now we got a football player.
Awesome.
But after suffering multiple knee injuries during his NFL career, they decided to retire and pursue a career in business, where he spent 10 years recruiting or selling to blue-collar organizations. This individual is very skilled in personal and professional development, training, and coaching. So it really aligns with a lot of the stuff that we talk about. So please welcome today's guest is the owner of Audible Coaching and Consultant. Please welcome Nate Salley.
Welcome.
How's it going, fellas?
Hey, Nate, welcome.
Good. How are you?
Great, I'm great. Nice to meet you all. Great stories around the coaches, too. I love hearing that.
Were you at Ohio State when Joe Brown was there?
Joe Brown, I don't think so. I was a part of the recruiting class with Maurice Claret, Santonio Holmes, and that whole crew. So we were in the same recruiting class. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, thank you for joining us today. As I mentioned, we met through youth sports where, Noah played football with you, and I grew up playing multiple sports, and I've always had coaches that have impacted me throughout my life, and I'm sure you have as well. And especially in your area playing, college sports, is there a coach or a moment or an impact that you've had that has stuck with you throughout your life?
Yeah, it's a few, man. It's tough to narrow that down. I heard some of y'all's stories. It was awesome, hearing about, the 17 and making your coach run if you hit the goal, and, the Bush League and Hornets Corner. It's pretty cool. It's funny. It is funny how some of those things never leave you. So it's a few coaches that I'll shout out just really quick. George Smith from St. Thomas Aquinas High School, arguably one of the most legendary high school coaches ever, and has really built an amazing program there. And we have a new coach now. He was amazing, taught me all about discipline and structure and what that can do for you in every area of your life. Going from there, Jim Tressel, still one of the best human beings I ever met in my life. So I have to acknowledge him and the impact that he had. He really showed me how important it is to truly care about those that you're leading, and how no one cares what you know until they know how much you care. He was a guy that genuinely cared about you, and if he called me right now, I'd have to drop out this Zoom meeting and go and check on coach, right? So when I think about like a pivotal impact that a coach had on me, it was a guy who was my position coach in high school, and he wasn't even my position coach yet. I was in my freshman year, as you mentioned, I played two sports, primarily football and basketball. I also did a little bit of track my senior year of high school, but I was primarily football and basketball guy, and I love hoops, man. So I was a guy that, like, whenever it was football season, I was going to the NFL. Whenever it was the basketball season, I'm going to the NBA, right? So I got in one of those kind of moves where after my freshman year, I played freshman ball my freshman year. I wasn't on varsity. And I played JV basketball, and the position coach, the DB coach on the varsity team, got wind that I was thinking about quitting football just to stick with hoops. And I was working this basketball camp, and somehow, I don't even know why he was there, but he ended up popping up, and he pulls me into this classroom across from the gymnasium. And I'll never forget, he brings me in the room, and he says, "Nate, I heard you thinking about quitting football." And I'm like, "Yeah, coach, I think I just want to hoop," right? And he tells me in that moment, he says, "Nate, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but coaches are saying that you remind them of the Michael Irvins and Daryl Porters and other guys that had come through our high school and made it to the NFL." And he's like, we think you have a shot to be one of those guys. And I have a plan to start you at DB going into your sophomore year. In that moment, man, I always had a dream of, playing ball and making it to the pros, playing D1. I come from a family where Both my siblings dropped out of high school, so I hadn't seen a college graduate really in my family, and hadn't, experienced a high school graduation. So for me in that moment, the dream of playing ball, felt more real than it ever had when he said that, and I believed him. And the funny thing about that is, about 3 years ago, one of my old teammates and I were just catching up, and he was a guy that played receiver in DB. He went to the University of Tennessee, played wide receiver there. His name is Jomo Fagan, and we're catching up, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if I ever told you this before, but going into your sophomore year, Coach Farrell pulled all us into a room, all those guys who played two positions, and upperclassmen, and he pointed at me directly and was like, 'Hey, Jomo, we're gonna have to stick you just a receiver because we got to get this kid Nate on the field.'" And for me at that moment, it was, I still get goosebumps thinking about it, because I was really thinking about quitting football. And I ended up playing football that year. I wound up being a starting corner and safety, depending on the game and the scheme that we had. I had my best game of my career, my life to this day, was on a day when Jomo's brother got in trouble, and it was a playoff game, and Coach benched him. And I was supposed to play corner that game, and Coach put me at safety that game. And I had my best game of my life. I had 3 interceptions. And guess who was in the crowd that day watching other guys, our older upperclassmen? It was Ohio State. And that's I caught their eye. And it's like, that happens. We win the state championship that year. We made it to the state championship my junior and senior, but didn't win it. That was the only year we actually won it. And it's like, and obviously, going to Ohio State, being a part of a national championship team there, making it to the NFL, like, all of that probably doesn't happen if he doesn't pull me to the side and say, "Hey, Nate, we think you can be like these guys." And at my high school, that's the one thing you knew about my high school, was you had a good chance to go to college if you did well there, but also you knew Michael Irvin went there. It's like, all right, I want to go there.
Right.
So that was huge, man. So if I think about the most pivotal moment, like everything, all those other coaches that I mentioned, I don't get to even meet them if Coach Farrell doesn't step up to the plate and tell me how much he believes in me. That was very impactful, man. So that was a transformational moment for me, to be honest. Yeah.
Nate, that's awesome. That resonates a little bit with the story that I told, and I didn't articulate it very well.
Oh, your Little League story?
Yeah,
His success to the NFL resonates with your Little League story?
It has nothing to do with that, and Nate knows better than anybody that performing and succeeding in sports is easily got to be one of the toughest things for any human individual to be doing. So it's impressive at all levels. But the message there is that if you didn't have someone to give you the push, and same thing with my coach, who said, "Don't give up, work harder, work harder to earn what you can get, what you can achieve." So I want to transition to that, to what you're doing now, and from a coaching perspective, how do you now use that to fuel younger individuals who might feel like they want to quit? I mean, sports is an uphill battle, right? There are times where you're getting pushed around by that underclassman who's coming up, right? And it's like, this person just came up, they're going to take my job, whatever it is. How do you inspire individuals to keep the drive, to not quit, to move forward?
Yeah, I love it. It's interesting, but it's a very similar approach, whether, coaching young people like my guy Noah, or if I'm coaching an executive of an organization, right? At the end of the day, the thing that's been most transformational for me in my life is having the right people at the right time simply say or act in a way that showed me that they believed in me, right? They either told me I believe in you, or they did things that showed me they believe in me. And that can be transformational in someone's life, because a lot of us don't have a ton of those people around us, right? That genuinely care about us, that are willing to support us, encourage us, but also hold us accountable, and maybe see things in us that exceed even our greatest expectations, right? So I've been fortunate to have individuals like that in my life that have poured into me, and that have, not been shy about what they see in me and the potential that they see there. That's been transformational in my life. So for me, honestly, what I strive to do is just be that person for others and continue to pay it forward. So whenever I see something that jumps out at me, I'm not shy. I'm not afraid to share that. And I don't, I'm not going into every situation trying to coach everybody, based on the conversation, but in a genuine, authentic way. I want them to understand, and I trust that they leave the conversation that I have with them feeling like, man, this dude, he cares about me. He cares about, me maximizing my potential and being the best version of myself. So that's the approach that I take in life in general. And honestly, that's just it's a part of who I've been my whole life. Like I had, once I decided that I was going to become a coach, it like chose me first. It's like I realized, like, man, this is kind of who I am already. I just need to get some more structure around it. But I'm pretty sure each and every one of us on this call can kind of say the same thing. Like it just kind of highlights some of those things that align with how you're wired. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure if I answered your question there, but that's kind of the approach that I take. I want to infuse folks with hope and encourage them through showing them the level of belief that I have in them. And my biggest thing as far as what I get to do, whether it be coaching, young people or in my life coaching and executive coaching that I do, we all have a gap somewhere between where we are and where we know we're fully capable of being. For me, there's nothing more fulfilling to me, whether it's been in my professional career, just in my personal life, nothing more fulfilling for me than meeting someone where they are and walking alongside them as they bridge that gap between where they are and where they know they're fully capable of being. So there's nothing more fulfilling for me in my life. So that's what I've committed the rest of my life to doing.
We'll be right back.
Hey, listener. We're returning to our normal routines here at RecLess headquarters after a great week in Orlando. Big thank you to NRPA and their many volunteers for the great show they put on this year. We enjoyed reconnecting with a lot of familiar faces and meeting a lot of new ones for the first time. We also wanted to take a moment to say thank you for being on the journey with us, listening to our podcast, coming to our sessions, and attending our social. It means so much. We appreciate all the support. Last week would not have been possible without the support of some very special sponsors. We want to thank our friends at Rec Technologies and Ben Schaefer Recreation for our Top Golf Social with the Young Professional Network. It was a great event. A lot of people had a lot of fun, and we're already looking forward to doing something with the YPN next year in Philly. We also want to say a special thank you to our friend Nile Bott and Neck Practice Partners, Katie Keller and her family at Stymie Lock, RVI Landscaping, and the team at Barry Dunn for their financial support that allowed us to award 5 $400 scholarships to professionals needing assistance to attend conference this year. And last but not least, we want to thank you, our listeners. We've enjoyed hearing from you individually and appreciate the support y'all have given collectively over the years. Okay, back to the show.
I have seen former professional athletes speak to parks and rec bodies or even leadership bodies, whether it's a group of bank presidents or whatever. Same thing with like SEALs, former like SEAL leaders and things like that go and speak. And what I think is lost a lot and what I'm always amazed by is how quickly y'all had to grow up. Like, I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. So, and the joke around the house is these 18 to 22-year-olds will affect my mood for the next 3 or 4 months, Pflugerville is a suburb of Austin, so we're next to Austin. So Arch Manning is big right now, and I think people look at him with envy in ways and like, oh my gosh, he's a Manning and he's king of the campus. One bad start, and there's no place to hide in Austin for Arch Manning, not even his dorm room, to be honest. I think about, and I think it's lost at times on society, how quickly you ought to grow up. Like you're 18, 19, 20. If you made a mistake on that field in front of the 100,000 that were at in Columbus, or heaven forbid you did it at the big house in Michigan, you heard about it for the next year, probably. What an idiot. Did you see Salley, completely whiffed on that play or whatever? We judge in these moments, and y'all have to grow up so quickly. And then if you're fortunate enough to get drafted and go to the NFL, you have to grow up even quicker because all of a sudden you have this potentially opportunity for generational wealth that all of a sudden some second cousin you've never heard of needs a handout, or you've got some of your best friends wanting to hang with you. What was that like? And how have you been able to transition the lessons learned into how you coach and lead other people, or coach and lead other, people that ask for those advices?
Yeah, that was challenging for me because I was always so just grateful to even be there, right? So when it came to me going to Ohio State, like I said, my big goal in high school was to graduate, right? Like I knew I came from a home where my older siblings didn't, and I knew I had nieces and nephews and other people that were looking up to me that I felt like if I didn't graduate, that they weren't going to see another example of what is possible and what we could do. So for me, I always kind of stepped into those situations with just an extreme amount of gratitude. Like, man, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm just work my tail off and we'll see how it all plays out, right? And that's what I did in college, and that's what I did in the NFL, and that's what I do my best to do in my line of work that I get to do right now. So I think it was slightly different when I was in school. I graduated high school in 2002. I think Facebook started that same year or the year before, right around that time. So we weren't under as much of a microscope. It was a microscope, right? Because a lot of our games were on national television, but it wasn't like, hey, when I go to the locker room, if I miss a tackle, I'm going to see, a bunch of posts about it and people, shaming me online. So it wasn't to that level, to the level that it is right now, but it was tough. But for me, it's funny, right? You can be in a stadium full of 100,000 people. You can be on a Pop Warner field with 50 people in the stands. And as the player, it feels the exact same. Like it doesn't. You're not focused on that. That's why I always loved. I need to get some contact early in the game, right? Because once I get that, break that ice, it's like, let's go. It's just like Pop Warner again. I'm back to doing what I love to do. So for me, I think I never thought about the outside as much. I always focused on, my guys in my locker room. What was our goal? What we're striving to accomplish? And I always, I'm big on my faith. I always focused on my faith as well, and that was always huge for me. So that's kind of what helped me, and I think what helps me now to not really. I do my best to block out the noise and really focus on what's most important. And I always focus on controlling what I can control, right? And that's what I try to coach people through also. Like, all right, there's certain things that you do have full control over. How you show up, how you respond to adversity. Like you have control over how you respond to that. Like, what are you going to do with it, right? And I do my best to control the controllables and just trust that if I do things the right way for the right reason, that the good things are going to happen, right? And going to come to fruition. So, yeah.
So a follow-up on that. So if you came up in the time before social media really got to be intense and NIL, which, it's interesting. It's something that for a long time, I think the athletes were supportive of and pursuing, and they're obviously supportive of it now because people are getting millions of dollars. But I think there is
real nice.
Yeah, I think there's a concern on the other side. Like, what would an NIL, Nate, Salley, have been like? And if you weren't starting year one or year two, would you think you'd have been more apt to jump? We're seeing a lot of guys chase some NIL bag in places, and then that puts them all of a sudden, if they're the big guy coming into that school and the social media is like, this guy better hit, we're paying him $1 million a year, there's even more pressure than I would have thought there would have been before.
I think for me, I'm loyal and stubborn to a fault sometimes. So like once I put my mind to something, it's hard to really get me off of that. So I wouldn't have seen myself being a guy that would transfer unless there was like some blatant things going on that like, man, all right, I don't have a chance here. Like coach isn't trying to give me a shot. But if there's a chance, I'm gonna stick around, and I'm just gonna trust that I'll work hard enough and prove myself to get to that point. When it comes to the money part of NIL, the one thing that makes me glad that I'm not coming up right now is even when I got to my senior year of college and you start to realize like the NFL can be a reality, it took a while for me to see the NFL and see football as a business, right? Because I really love the game. Like I would literally play the game for free if they weren't willing to pay so much for it, right? I would pay for free because I love the game of football. So when it started to feel like a business is when it kind of took away some of that joy in playing the game, and just the innocence of it, of just going out and hitting somebody, right, and doing your job and trying to win a championship. Like I play ball at the YMCA right now, and I play like I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like I just
Right.
I don't know how to do things any other way. So for me, I think inserting money into the equation that early, like guys make it to the NFL and aren't ready to get this big lump sum of money. Think of an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, it's tough, man. So, and especially coming from the background I came from, like you said, it would have been a lot of people knocking on the door and, becoming buddy because, and to have to handle that and grow up that fast, I couldn't imagine it, man. So I'm glad that I came up in the era that I did come up in, because I think it helped me to really be my authentic self in that moment, and also helped me to grow and mature at a healthy rate versus having to rush things, which I think happens, right now.
To kind of play off of this whole concept of social media and share, I actually really hopefully push people to join your social media and see what you're doing, because I love the videos you post, both on Instagram and LinkedIn. And it motivates me when I see that. And we talk a lot in our profession about our why, like why we do what we do. It's actually, I've seen presentations on it at conferences, and you had a video on one of your social media platforms about the purpose of your life. Mm-hmm. And, in that, it talks about the experiences that drive people. And really, I want to have you dive into what you're doing now with your coaching and your consulting. And the purpose that you had mentioned in this video was to inspire transformation in the lives of others. I love that. I think that's a very keen fact that a lot of us say that we do in our profession of just serving others through local park and recreation. But how did that come about, and how does that motivate you to continue doing what you're doing?
Yeah, no, I love it. Thanks for asking that question. That is the filter that I make every decision through, right? So, Jay, when you reach out to me and you ask me, hey, can you be a part of my podcast? The first thing I'm thinking about, is this an opportunity for me to inspire transformation? If it's a yes, I do my best to make it happen. If it's not, then I gladly pass it on to someone else. So for the rest of my life, that's the filter that I make my decisions through in every area of my life, personally and professionally, right? Does it align with that? Next thing, how I came to that understanding and that clarity, I was sitting in my cubicle at work in October 10, 2017. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting there, and I had built this solid career after playing ball. I was in corporate recruiting. I was recruiting supervisor at the time with a big organization. I was sitting there after having this, solid career built up after playing ball, and I still felt like something was missing. I'm like, man, this is cool. It's a really good opportunity. I'm grateful for it, but I know I'm not living anywhere near the potential that I was put on this earth for. And at that point, it just bothered me to the point where I just couldn't take it anymore, right? So I started to reflect a little bit, and I thought about the fact that every team I've been a part of, every company I've been a part of to that point, everywhere I've been, they had a clear-cut mission or a vision statement that made it clear to me what I'm there for every day, right? But at that point, I had a wife, I had 2 kids, I have 3 kids now, but I didn't know what my own purpose was and my own mission was, right? I didn't know what I was waking up for each and every day. I knew ultimately that, being a dad and being a father, that's more my responsibility, not my purpose, right? But what was I uniquely created for, and how was I intentionally living in alignment with what I was put on this earth for? Because I have breath in my lungs, so it's a reason why I'm here. It's something I'm supposed to be doing. And the fact that I couldn't answer that, like I said, it just bothered me to the point where I started to reflect on my journey as I thought about my life, because, oftentimes there's patterns in our life, right? And as I started to look back over my journey, I saw that when I was playing ball in my neighborhood, Nate, you're the captain. Literally, Nate, you're the captain. High school, Nate, you're the captain. College, I'll never forget my freshman year. We're in the dorms, all giving each other a hard time, as we all do, talking smack. And one of the most alpha males that you'll ever meet, a guy who ended up being a Heisman Trophy winner, Troy Smith, we're sitting in the dorm rooms, and out of nowhere, he's like, man, you're going to be a captain. And starts calling me Captain Nate from that day forward. Still calls me Captain Nate to this day, right? For whatever reason, people just always saw something there that they maybe admired to some level, or that they were willing to follow, and they just saw something there. I go into the NFL, although I was injured 2 out of my 4 seasons in the NFL, literally half my career. I still was one of the more respected guys in that locker room, still have great connections with some of the key leaders from that team and have the respect of them. Went on from there, corporate America. I worked my first real job. A year in, I get promoted into a leadership role. I leave that job after 5 years. Next job, 8 months in, promoted to a leadership role. So at that point, I'm like, all right. Like, I get it. As I wrote my mission statement, the first thing that came to mind as I thought through was that I've been put on this earth to positively impact the lives of others. Because no matter what I try to do, whether I want to or not, I'm always put in those positions to make a positive impact. And then I've since dove deeper into that through a process that I do called Life Plan, and gain even more clarity that I've been put on this earth to inspire transformation in the lives of others. So like I said, for the rest of my life, like, that's my mission. That's what I've been put here for. Every decision I make has to fit within that window. If not, then I'll gladly pass it on to the next person. So, and that's what I want to help as many human beings on this earth be able to answer that question as clearly and as concise as I just answered it, right? Because if we aren't able to, like, what are we doing in reality, right? Yeah. We're just kind of winging it, going wherever the wind takes us, right? If we're not intentionally living on purpose, with a purpose, right? Like, what are we doing, right? And that's why we see a lot of the biggest issues that we see in our world right now stem from that. That's the foundation of it right there. There's a lack of clarity on who you are, what you're supposed to be doing. So you're over here. I always tell people, me living out of alignment with who I was created to be is like a fish trying to be the best bird, right? It'll never fly, right? It just ain't gonna, it's not gonna happen. And it's a lot of fish trying to be the best bird because they see people being a bird on Instagram or, right? And it looks successful, it looks exciting and sexy. And even if they do accomplish that thing, they'll get to the mountaintop and sit there and wonder, like, is that it? Like, I sacrificed all this for this, like time with my wife and my kids, all for this, right? So I want to help as many people not get to that point as I can.
That's amazing. Marcus Buckingham talks about a strength isn't what you're good at and a weakness isn't what you're bad at. A strength is what strengthens you and a weakness is what weakens you. And you can definitely tell that, you were obviously good at a lot of things athletically, but those weren't your strength. Your strength was leadership, and you can tell it strengthens you because it just pours right out of you. You know what I mean? Like, you enjoy being a leader. That's very cool.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Yeah. And to piggyback on that really quick, I know something that stands out for me that let me know that this is exactly what I need to be doing is when I looked at the most fulfilling moments in my career or in my life, it had nothing to do with an award. It had nothing to do with a title. It was always, all right, one of my most proud moments was, all right, I hired this guy. We had a goal. He had a goal in mind. He told me what his vision was for himself a year, 2 years down the line. And in a year, we were doing it with high five. Like, that felt amazing. Not hitting this contest and getting this bonus check. Like, it wasn't that. It was really seeing that come to fruition. Like, those types of moments. Being a captain at Ohio State and having guys come to me and bring real life stuff. Like, man, I'm homesick, thinking about going home, and I'm not. And being able to talk them through that and see them go to the NFL, right? And see things like that happen. Like, those have been the most fulfilling moments in my life. And that's when I realized, like, all right, I'm supposed to be doing this. This is what I've been put here to do. So.
Nate, I want to just kind of piggyback off of that. First of all, echo what Shane said. This oozes out of you, man. This is your passion is so apparent and it's engaging. That is a really important quality for someone who's leading. Now we all do this on a day-to-day basis. We're trying to lead, whether it's leading our community, the people in the community, or leading the teams that we serve with together. Every once in a while, though, you got individuals on your team who they're just not there.
Yeah.
Whatever that reason is, they're mentally somewhere else. They can be maybe a little detached. Maybe it almost seems like they don't want to be here or they don't buy in. That's one of the biggest challenges of leadership is getting those individuals on board, getting them on track. And to your point, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, or even a year later, you're high-fiving them and you're feeling it and you're together on this journey. How do you get them from that point where they're not with it? What's your approach there? How do you get someone on board and motivate them?
Yeah, the biggest thing, similar to what I shared with you all that I learned from Coach Jim Tressel, right? Just to kind of set the stage for this and why I care about that man so much, right? So when I was getting recruited, I was not thinking about going to Ohio State. Like, I'm from South Florida. I'm thinking Columbus, Ohio. I'm thinking that's the same thing as Iowa, Nebraska. I'm a city boy. Like, I'm not going to Ohio, right? And they kept coming to my house. It was Coach Tressel and then our tight ends coach who recruited kind of our area. But Coach Tressel would consistently reach out, come to my house, come to my school. And one time he came to the school and he found this penny heads up, which we all know is kind of supposed to be good luck, right? So just as a little joke, he would show me this penny, like, I'm gonna get you. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get you. I found this penny at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. This means I'm gonna get you. I end up going there to Ohio State. He never changed one moment from the man he was when he stepped foot into my household and spoke to my mom and dad and I to the moment that I was at my senior day. We're getting ready to beat Michigan our upcoming week, but we were my senior day, right? I think we played Northwestern that day. And I said all that to say this. Throughout my entire career at Ohio State, he had this wallet, this old beat-up leather wallet. And it was this indent in his wallet of that penny. And whenever he would see me around campus or around the facility, like, I told you I was going to get you, right? On my senior day, he gave me that penny, right?
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, stuff like that. And the reason why I set the stage with that is, like, it's really when I have people tell me exactly what you just told me, Tom, I ask them, how's the relationship with that individual? Like, what have you done to kind of go out of your way even to understand who they are, what they're striving to accomplish, but more importantly, what role you can play in helping them to get to that next level, right? Because as I mentioned before, people don't care what you know. They don't care what your title is, all that, until they understand that you care. And if you're trying to get somebody bought in, get them to know that you care first. And then a lot of that other stuff will come with it. Even the tough conversations become a lot easier because you understand this is coming from a good place, right? I can come at Noah on the field because he understands, like, Coach has my back. He wants what's best for me when I step out here, right? So it's the same approach that I'm pretty sure some of your best coaches took that same approach when it came to you in any sport that either of us played. So I always start there. That's the foundation of it all. If this isn't right, you can do all the amazing strategy and plans and do disc assessments and all this stuff and have all that together. But if this foundation is not where it needs to be, it's going to crumble. It's just a matter of time, right? So get this right first, and all the other stuff will come with it.
We found out two things. One, Nate's like the anti-NIL because he took one penny over the course of his 4 years. And two, if Tressel didn't claim it, I think all these guys could go file a complaint and maybe get all those wins eradicated. This one penny might be Ohio State's downfall. you did get paid from the coach.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Another video I saw that you had on your social media was about change and challenge. Okay.
Yeah.
And we talk about change a lot in our industry of just, you got new leadership that comes in, or there's a budget change, and there's things that just get thrown at us all the time. You need to cancel an event or move an event because of weather. And not everyone embraces change well. But I agree with you that when you have change, you need to embrace it and you need to be able to accept it. And to me, it's all about the lens that you look through. The reality is that, change and challenge are very not comfortable for someone, but how do you get someone that you're coaching to look through that lens that allows them to embrace it and not push away from it?
First, it starts with the relationship. That's not something I'll start with, right? But by the time we get to that conversation, I've built enough equity with them where they trust that I'm coming from the best place possible and I want what's best for them. So that's one thing. The next thing is you're either going to accept it and understand it and embrace it, or you're going to get run over by it, right? So you really get to choose. This is one of those conversations that you can't really dance around. Like, it is inevitable. The longer you live, you're going to experience change and you're going to experience challenge. This is a part of life that every human being on this earth is going to experience that. So ultimately, what I do in my process and just in how I go about treating others, I do my best to help them to understand, or at least begin to wrap their mind around the fact that life happens for us, not to us. To do our best to not play that victim role, but also look at their journey, right? And each and every one of us have made it through something. We've all survived 100% of our worst days, right? So, and oftentimes, especially for all of us on this screen, right, that are in leadership positions, I guarantee that one of, if not the toughest moments or the toughest day that we ever had in our life is a big reason for why we are on this screen right now. Most people have that story somewhere in their back pocket, right? Maybe they've stuffed it away and don't think about it. But oftentimes those tough moments is not by chance, right? So it helps to develop a certain muscle in us. And I always try to compare it to this, right? Like, I'm not trying to play for the Panthers again, but I still try to stay in decent shape and I work out. And I'm not going to go into the weight room and pick up a 2-pound dumbbell like, oh, I'm about to get ripped, right? Like, no, I have to have some resistance. I need something on the bar that is going to force me to push myself. For me, I don't feel like I got a good enough workout in if I didn't get to some point where I felt like giving up, where I feel like, man, I don't know why I started this in the first place, right? But it's that moment when I push beyond that, where that's what separates good from great, right? That's what separates okay from excellent, right? It's not any magic pill that you take. It's being able to push through and push through those moments. So for me, that's what I try to encourage people with. And I try to share stories for myself. But more importantly, I do my best to help them dive deeper than they probably ever had before within their own story, and to see there has been a moment, if you live long enough, there's been a moment where something hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to go or that you hoped it would go, and it actually turned out better that it didn't go that way, and it developed you and has led to you being the person that you are right now. That's kind of what I do my best to help people, is to see that within themselves, that, hey, you have been resilient. You can push through change and challenge, right? But I help them to dive deeper into their story so they can gain clarity and see that within themselves. And I try to, incorporate some of my own stories as well to help them relate to it all as well. So, yeah.
I would think being a professional athlete and then even a high level collegiate athlete, there's a lot of noise that you have to learn to block out. We were talking in the office the other day about pro football talk and how they evaluate professional athletes and get great scores, but they don't actually know the game plan or the coaching things. And they don't know what the third route or option was, but they are scoring these people. And then at least they're studying tape. Then you've got us knuckleheads that play fantasy football and think we know, everything because we drafted Jaden Daniels or whatever. And so I think in leadership, you have to be able to block out the noise as well. And I think at times you have to believe that the corner you're turning, that you're going to be able to turn it, whether everyone else thinks you're going to be able to turn that or not. You've got to have this incredible belief that you're going to turn it, almost be able to see that you're going to turn it or be able to see that you're going to win this game, even when everyone else thought maybe Ohio State wouldn't win that game or whatever. What strategies do you do to block out the noise and hyper focus on the task at hand?
It's a good
Or what
question.
strategy would you give folks that are struggling with that?
My biggest thing is, especially as a leader, right?
Yeah.
You have to be crystal clear on the vision. Say my freshman year at Ohio State, right? Ohio State was 8-4 the year before. They lost in the Outback Bowl to the South Carolina Gamecocks. So they weren't top 5 program at that time. It wasn't like, Nate, you should go to Ohio State. Like when I told people I was going to Ohio State, they thought I was crazy. Like, because I'm from South Florida, the Miami Hurricanes that just won a national championship, and we're putting together what is still arguably the most talented college football team ever. And I said no to that, and I was going to Ohio State, where people were like, some people down in South Florida, when I told them where I was going to Ohio State, they said, you going where? like everybody, it was Florida State, Florida, Miami in Florida. Like no one, we thought we didn't think about any other school. Football was played in Florida for us, right, in our minds. So to go there and to have a coach like Jim Tressel, that is this amazing visionary, but he never looked too far ahead. We always understood what the big goal was and what we could potentially do. The first thing was always beat Michigan, right? Win the Big Ten title. So if we did that, you give yourself to be a chance to be a national champion, right? And we had him who led that vision and led the charge. But more importantly, we had the guys which would be below him on the team would be the captains and our seniors. Those guys were so bought in. Like Mike Doss, Donnie Nicky, like those guys were so bought in. Us as freshmen, we had no choice but to follow suit. Like, all right, let's go. We're going to do this thing, right? And it just, the buy-in was so incredible. And to think about how that was 2002, the 2002-2003 season, and we ended up having a miraculous game against the Miami Hurricanes, the team that everybody told me I should have gone to, and win in double overtime. You can't even draw that up, right? But to also think about now, 23 years later, we have not looked back ever since that moment. So I think for us as leaders, like thinking about the vision, like the big vision that much, thinking about, hey, the impact that I have now, it may touch and impact individuals that I may never meet that come through this organization, right? But if I do it the right way, we can set a tone that has a ripple effect that transforms lives like for generations to come, right? I tell my kids, we went to Ohio State to celebrate that national championship two years ago. And as I'm there, I'm like, and my kids, they get to run around the field and whatever they want to do, right? They weren't even thought of when I chose to go to Ohio State. They weren't even thought of when I chose to run those gases. And I said, man, I'm going to try to live out this dream of making it to the NFL. But I'm going to do things the right way for the right reasons. And we'll just see how I play. They weren't there, but they get the benefit from it, right? And they'll forever be known, my son will forever be known as Nate Salley, Nate Salley, former Carolina Panthers national champion, all this stuff. He gets all that tied to his name now because of the decision that I made and the decision that his mom made to do the right things. So I think when we really think about leadership from that lens and the legacy piece of it, like we have to have a clear vision of where we're going. Jim Tressel has a ripple effect that is expanding across the world right now because of the type of leader that he is. He's changed the world, right?
The vest. Wasn't he the vest guy?
Yeah. So leadership can have that level of impact. And I think that us as leaders, that's our responsibility to be able to have that level of vision, but also to be able to bring it back to, all right, this is the big vision, all right, we got to win this next game. All right, we got to win this next rep in practice, right? We got to be clear and help people to be able to see that as well and take steps towards that common goal. So I hope that helps. But vision, alignment, and then execution. They call it the VAE model, vision, alignment, and execution, right? We have to be on the same page as far as vision. Then we need to all get aligned in our actions, and then we need to execute, right? Execute that vision. And then that's how, when you see amazing things happen, you see the legacy that I just shared. So I hope that answered the question as well. But thanks, that was a great question.
Well, Nate, we're going to turn a little bit different here and do some rapid fire. So I'm going to shoot out some quick questions, and so is Shane and Tom. And just first thing that comes to mind, and this will be fun because I think we can go in so many different directions with it. But I'm curious because we've never even talked about this. From your playing time with the Panthers, did you have a favorite road stadium you played in? And if so, where was it?
My favorite road stadium with the Panthers. Honestly, I only played there once, but Green Bay, man.
Yeah,
It's just something like you just know it's so much history there, and it's just
that's
like
cool.
talk about legacy and like a legendary place. That was that place. Almost like when I got a chance to watch a basketball game at Madison Square Garden. It was like, man, like the Mecca. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
for football, like Green Bay is a place like that. You know what I mean? So it just had this aura about it, and just standing on that field, and it was freezing cold in October, and it's like it's like
so, yeah,
frozen tundra. You know what I mean? It's like
that's
it was
neat.
fun.
That's cool.
I would say that's probably the coolest place. Yeah.
Okay.
Nate, I'm gonna follow Jay's suit. I got so many questions, and we don't have that much time. But
No worries. I'm sorry. I can get very wordy. I apologize.
We love it.
no, no,
We
no, no,
love
no,
it.
no, no, no. That's no. This is most of our episodes. We're like, man, we needed like at least one more hour, maybe two or three.
Yeah.
So you know that you. I'm assuming you know Jay and Noah are big Bills fans.
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So
Are you
Don't hold-
disappointed in how unathletic Jay is compared to his son? I mean,
That was-
you judge him
you gotta
harshly, right?
Hold your question.
Okay.
I've never seen them try anything athletic, so yeah, they look just like they're built like I would assume he got it from his dad. So
Okay.
There you go.
I got your back, Jay.
Thank you.
Don't hold this against me. I'm a Patriots fan, and your Panthers faced the Patriots in the Super Bowl a little bit before you got there.
Yeah.
And but your career took you through the Tom Brady era, right? So the decades of, and I'm a huge Brady fan, and anyhow, that's my question. Was there someone you played with a lot of big names in college, and then of course NFL? Was there someone out there where maybe it was a quarterback that you faced where you're like, wow, he's legit, he's the real deal, or we're just starstruck because you got to be on the same field as one of these individuals?
Tom Brady is amazing. The only knock I have on him, he just went to the wrong college. But outside of that,
It's true.
But honestly, I would say I was fortunate to get drafted and play with two of those people that I admired already. And for me, being a guy that loves football, loves basketball, like I love both sports so much to the point that I painted my room Carolina blue as a kid and said I'm going to North Carolina because I wanted to be, especially when I saw Peppers come, like I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like the other guys that were, I saw, Vince Carter, Ed Cota, all them guys. Like I wanted to be a Tar Heel. So to see a guy that did both at such a high level, and to see like this dude's 300 pounds, just shredded, and like the nicest, coolest guy. Like we were playing NBA 2K during camp. Like I'm like, this is like crazy. You know what I mean? That was probably that moment where I was kind of like starstruck a little bit. Like, wow, like I'm in the same locker room with Julius Peppers. That was it. And then as far as a competitor, I was fortunate to go against one of the most, if not the most competitive person in NFL history is Steve Smith. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, you guys played together, right?
Yeah, we did. We did. So for me, honestly, like going against him in practice and having to cover him in practice, anything in the game was like not as, it wasn't going to exceed.
He was intense.
It was at least here. No one was above him as far as ability and just dog and mentality. It's like, so when he was practicing, you just had to have your mind right. Like, all right, he's got everything. like, let's go. You know what I mean? And it just made everybody better, though. It makes you step your game up. So I would say those are the two, to be honest. I was supposed to play with both of the guys that I probably
love that.
Like Jay said earlier, we had another professional athlete on, Trey Mancini. We didn't ask him this, Tom, but we've asked other people this. We should ask Trey this. So you've got to have an incredible contact list in your phone that you've got. So you don't have to share the number, but the name, who you could share the number, we'll just blast it live. No, but who is the most incredible name in your Rolodex? Athlete, maybe it's a performer or a politician or whatever. Who do you got that we'd be most impressed by?
I honestly don't have as many as you would think. I've always been pretty low key, you know what I mean? So might have, I don't know, Pep. He's a Hall of Fame. He's an NFL Hall of Fame. Pep.
Yeah. Like Cam Newton, do you have his contact info?
I don't. I would love to say Deion because I was a huge Deion Sanders fan, but I don't have Deion's number. I don't know, Pep, Thomas Davis. That's like my brother. I don't know, Smitty. I don't know. I know like those are the guys. I don't have a lot of like contacts beyond that. As far as that would be like, wow, you know this person. Yeah, not that I can think of. One will probably hit me when I get off.
Yeah. We'll give you time to scroll. Yeah.
But none that come to mind, to be honest. Yeah.
I want to ask a similar question to the first one I did about your favorite road stadium for the Panthers. What about from a college basketball perspective? Was there a campus, an arena that you played in that was the loudest and most intense?
I always love playing at Michigan because it's awesome to beat them at their house. It's the best thing.
What was your record against them?
We were 3-1.
Look at that. Yeah.
Get away with one. But basketball, I would say Michigan State was the coolest, right? Because I was heavily considering Michigan State also, and they were going to let me play both. So just Izzo being the legend that he is, and I got to meet Magic Johnson on my visit. Like, it was just really cool. And my first basketball game after our national championship in football, my first basketball game was against Michigan State. So it was really cool to see Coach Izzo like, hey, man, I'm sorry I didn't come, but you know what I mean? And I think I scored a point. I scored 2 points. I scored a layup in that game. I didn't have a lot of points. I had like 8 total career points, so it wasn't a lot. But I got 2 in that game. But it was really cool. Just Michigan State has always been one of those powerhouses from a basketball standpoint. So to be able to play there and to actually score a bucket, that was really, really cool, you know, with Izzo being right there as well. And that was really cool. So, and then football-wise, Penn State, man.
Yeah.
There's nothing like a whiteout night game at Penn State, man. That is a special place. So, and it can intimidate you, man, if you're not locked in. Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. And one other place, Wisconsin gets crazy. That's not the biggest stadium, but those people are crazy. Not in the best way possible, but they're crazy.
Cool. We're heading there in February, right, guys?
Yeah.
Get a little taste of the Wisconsin life. Nate, you're a very driven dude. You got a lot going on, and you have, you know, from every point of your professional journey, and even obviously leading into that with high school sports and college sports, you've been a busy guy, right? You seem to you have your hands in a lot. We talk about this with a lot of our guests. And you know, you got the drive, you've got the mission, the purpose. You got a beautiful family there in a picture I could see up above your right shoulder. What we talk about work-life balance, Nate? How do you get away from it all? You can't be on 24/7, right? So what do you do to hit the off button?
So it's a couple things. I'm not a big balance guy. I feel like when we say work-life balance, like it gives this false hope that everything can get equal amount of attention. And it's not going to happen. At different seasons of life call you to put more time or effort into one area than another, right? So I always like to look at it as rhythm. Like, so this season of life, this is kind of the rhythm that we're in. Like, so when I first began my corporate career, I'll stay in the office until 8, 9 o'clock and put in the time, right? But my son has practice. I'm going to be there, right? That's more of a priority for me to be present for my children. My daughter's volleyball, my other daughter's tennis. Like, I want to be present for that stuff. So that's a non-negotiable now. So it's a different season of life that we're in. So that's one thing. Another portion of that is a process called the replenishment cycle, right? And it really helps you to hone in on what helps to keep you replenished. Because similar to when we get on the airplane and you sit down and they tell you, hey, this thing starts going down, like, make sure you put your own mask on first before you try to go out here. And oftentimes we spend our lives doing this all day, right? And we just sitting here suffocating. And for me, my replenishment cycle is very important. And replenishment cycle consists of 4 different buckets, right? So it's what do I need to show up as my best self? What do I need to consistently do or intentionally do physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually, right? How am I taking care of myself in these areas? So I do my best to be intentional about doing those things, but also just like in work, when we have a ton of things to get done, I'm big on to-do lists, planners, things like that. I'm big on that because just as I'm intentional as far as my business goes and want to grow it and get to the next level, I have to be that intentional with my family too, and with my wife. Hey, like, we're gonna do, one date night a month, or hey, I want to have a one-on-one time with each of my kids at least once a month. Things like that. Like, you have to make time for that, because at this stage that we're at, man, if it ain't on the calendar, it ain't gonna get done. You know what I mean? It's not. So for me and my wife and I, we share calendars, right? So that I don't put something somewhere where she already had a plan or whatever the case may be. So we try to keep that in order as well. But that's the big thing for me, is the one word I would say is intentionality. We have to be intentional, just as intentional you are with everything in your professional life. You need to carry that over into your personal life and be as intentional about the things that we say we say our family is most important. We say doing these things are most important for our health and everything, but our actions show that work is really most important, right? Our family takes a back seat, right? So for me, it's being intentional in those areas, and that's what I strive to help other people do as well. And it's funny because you feel guilty at first for doing those things for yourself, but when you do that, now I'm able to show up better at work. I'm more productive. Yeah. I'm more efficient, right? So that's the approach that I take. Yeah.
This will be my last one, I think. What was your first big purchase going into the NFL, and what was your biggest regret purchase? That impulse purchase that you're like, I shouldn't have. I wish I had that money back. I wish I'd invested that or something.
So the biggest purchase that almost was a regret was I bought a house my first year, right? I was a 4th round pick. So I'm a 4th round pick. On the depth chart throughout summer camp, I'm number 2 on the depth chart. I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make the team, right? The guy who was ahead of me was hurt most of camp, but they had just brought him over from Jacksonville. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got a good chance. I'm gonna make the team. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get settled in, get a house or whatever. I get a house, man, and like probably within a week or two of me closing, I get cut in the final cut of my rookie year. She was my girlfriend at the time, but my wife. We're sitting in the room in the empty room, no furniture, and we get this call, and I'm like, man, what is going on, right? Wow. Fortunately, they bring me right back the very next day, sign me off waivers. I was on practice squad for like 2 games, and then one of our safeties rolled an ankle or something, and I was up on the main roster for the rest of the season. But in that moment, it was like, this is the worst decision.
Right? Yeah.
So that was wild. But as far as the actual worst purchase was, my first big purchase was probably I bought a Infinity Q56, like the big Infinities back then.
Okay.
One. It wasn't my worst purchase, but that was my first purchase. But the worst purchase was the rims that I bought to go on there, because I big old rims to go on this car. And it's so funny, like when I look back, I can never see myself driving that right now.
Right.
You know what? I'm mature, right? But I had these big, like 26-inch rims on the car. And I would just park it outside of my house. I'm thinking, I'm not in Fort Lauderdale anymore. Like, nobody's gonna mess with my car. I'm in a nice area. Man, they left my house on these center block. My car.
Oh no!
Yeah. And one of them was leaning like the car was gonna fall over. I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, so that was probably my first purchase and my worst purchase kind of combined.
I love it. That's great.
Give me learn. I'm gonna teach myself.
Wild.
Yeah.
Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been fun. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna encourage our listeners to go check you out on Instagram and LinkedIn. Nate Salley, the Audible Coach. Hopefully they find you and enjoy the things that I've seen on there as well, and get some more motivation to progress to inspire other people.
Yeah. Thank you. We see you as we definitely could see you at a Parks and Rec conference, giving a little keynote at some point in the future. So
let's do it.
We appreciate it. This is really enlightening, and I love your story, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for taking the time out and allowing me to be a part of this. So I'm grateful, man. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it.
Y'all.
Take care.
See ya.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
He could absolutely be a keynote. He could go on a keynote tour. You know what I mean? Incredible.
I agree. And like I said, I know I sent you guys a text. I'm going to kind of share his contact with at least here in North Carolina and see if there's an interest there and see if we can make that work in a future conference.
We have to figure out a way to do a presentation that has Nate in it going to Ohio. And we get him there for Columbus.
Oh, yeah. There's a great fit right there.
And then maybe they're playing a game that week and he gets us into the game.
Well, see,
on the field.
That's right. Let us run around.
I had
I'll be
question
Nate's son for a day.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's funny.
That's great.
I was actually going to ask about something about Columbus and just kind of something for us to do, like outside of what we asked Bernita, but I'm running out of time here, so we'll have a follow up and get some more insight on that for future.
I was going to ask him about. Shane jokingly said, "Where does Noah get his athletic skill?" I was going to ask him, what's it like to coach Noah? What kind of player are we talking about here? Give us the insight. Give us the scoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's funny.
I can rate his poker back playing abilities. I can't rate his football.
The other day I'm driving and I'm driving home from Noah's practice, and Nate texted me, and his name popped up on my Apple CarPlay, and his face lit up like because Noah loves Coach Salley. So yeah, that'd be a fun question to ask sometime.
That's cool.
But hey guys, this was fun. I appreciate it. I look forward to future conversations about not just, leadership and coaching, but, I know we talked a lot about today on how, we can help grow others. And it seems to be a constant trend. And, maybe there's such a correlation, and we know sports is always a foundation with so many things, and sports can correlate with so many different things with leadership and growth. So hopefully this was good for other people to listen to.
Yeah, he was great. I was very impressed by him. Audible Coach,
Good
not
stuff.
Audible
Good
the
stuff.
book. He's not teaching you how to read the books, is he?
No, but I can ask him if he would be interested in doing that sometime.
Great work, Jay.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Till next time. See ya.
See ya.
All right. I'll see you next time.
This episode of RecLess wouldn't have been possible without the support of our agencies and our better halves, Melissa Salatino, Lindsay Tryon, and our executive producer, Hannah Mize. We also want to thank our director of hashtags and swag, Rooney Taylor, and our team of junior producers, Luke, James, Elizabeth, Grant, and Harper. Stay up to date on all things RecLess by following all of our social media, and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to ensure you don't miss an episode. See you next time on RecLess.